Hello, welcome to Ola from Alfa Virus here. Today's video is called How to Improve Your Alfa Romeo 156. This is going to be, it's not an instruction video, it's just more me talking about some of the weak points of the Alfa Romeo and how to improve those weak points. And I'm going to talk about some things that I've done myself, some things that I plan to do in the future, and some things that I heard from others how to improve the Alfa Romeo. There's a lot of very dedicated Alfa Romeo fans that put out videos online, and also a lot of chat forums where people talk about problems and highlights of the car. I'm gonna try to summarize and some of those weak points and how to improve them. First of all, the Alfa Romeo is the 156 is a really good car, and you shouldn't listen to those. There's a lot of people that say if you buy an Alfa Romeo, you're a moron. They're gonna break the first day, it's gonna rust away after a week. That's not really true anymore. I do understand why they say it, because it used to be true, and I think one of the cars that gave Alfa Romeo this reputation was, most of all, I think the Alfa Romeo, the Alfa Sud, which were launched in the 70s. First of all, that car had some horrible problems with rust and electronics, and I guess the engines and the gearbox were good, and the driving characteristics were really good, but everything else was, quality was appalling. That's not really the case with the 156. First of all, it has a Bosch electronic system, so all the electrics is, I haven't had any problems with the electronics. It's really good, actually. And also, as far as rust is concerned, it's not the best. If you buy like a Swedish car, then they used to have more, like a Volvo, they have more or better rust protection, but I would say the Alfa is like somewhere in the middle. It's not horrible, but it's not the best. But there are some issues with the car that you might want to address. One thing you don't need to improve is the looks. I think the Alfa Romeo is a beautiful car. Let's see if I can shoot it here in the background. It's a lovely October day here. I'm trying to get some nice pictures all the way around. So, from my perspective, this is one of the nicest looking sedans that's ever been built. I think also the Sportwagen is really nice, but I just prefer the looks of the sedan. So I haven't changed anything as far as the looks. I don't think you really need to. What you could do, if you have like the standard version, maybe you want to opt for the Sport Pack, which gives you, I don't know if you can tell, but you have this skirts down here, which gives it a little bit better look. I also have the 17-inch. This is the original 17-inch wheel. I really think these wheels really suit the car. Other than that, it's really original. Why change it, really? But what you may want to change is, for example, this car has really weak bushings, so it really makes sense to, either change the bushing for originals, but then you have to do it quite often. What you can do, which I actually have done, is to change for polyurethane bushings. That really helps. First of all, they don't wear out so quickly, because the original bushings is rubber bushings, and they do tend to wear out. But also, this polyurethane is a different material. It's a kind of plastic material. It doesn't react to heat and dry out conditions the same way that the rubber does, so it lasts a whole lot longer. There's a lot of talking about polyurethane bushings, and some people say that it will ruin your ride, and that's not my experience. But I will say this, When you buy polyurethane bushings, you want to check what kind of polyurethane bushings are those. I mean, you have what I bought is like basically it's the same stiffness as the original, because you don't really want harder or stiffer bushings. You can have, for example, like Powerflex have something they call the Black Series, which is well, they actually say that it's only for racing, and I do believe that's to be true. That's because there are no flexing in those bushings, and you'd be surprised how much difference those tiny little bushes makes. I can really felt like a big improvement with these polyurethane bushings, which have the same stiffness. I bought it from a supplier they called Strongflex. I think it's like a Polish manufacturer. I think the name Strongflex is probably a rip-off from the British Powerflex. But I do recommend them because I feel they're really good bushings, and they're like half the price of Powerflex. So I'm not sure it's worth to pay so much for the more expensive Powerflex. So that's one way to go. Bushings, that's really nice. Also, I'll show you something else. I'm gonna get into the car. Oh, it's really dark here. But yeah, here's the gear lever, and one of the problems I find with the stock car is that you have a really long throw on the gear lever. But what I've done is I mounted a so-called short shifter. I bought this from a British supplier. It's called EB Spares. You can also buy like a Novitec kit, which you can find on the German site alfisti.net. I haven't tried that one, the Novitec, so I can't say anything about the difference between those two. But with this kit from EB Spares, it really makes a difference. What it does, it's like it makes this throw on the gear lever shorter. So it's a lot. It feels a little bit sportier. As far as the general feeling of the gear lever, I would say it's pretty much the same. This is never like the smoothest gear lever to begin with, and that sort of is unchanged after I mounted this short shift kit. So, but that's I can recommend it absolutely. Then there's one other thing which I haven't done yet is one of the weak points of this car is the brakes, and I think like the brakes aren't terrible, but I really like some bigger brakes, and this is even like the later version, the facelift version. I think Alfa Romeo made an upgrade after 2002, so if you have like an early Alfa, you would have even smaller brakes than this 2004 model. And I think they made changes to the rear brakes and possibly the brakes in the front. So I imagine if you have one of those early versions, it really makes sense to change the brakes. What I have changed is I changed the discs, and I also changed the pads. I bought what are they called? They're called the EBC green stuff pads. They're more sporty pads, and also the discs I bought from Brembo. They're called oh, what are they called? I forget the names of those. It's not. There's some grooves in them that has a particular shapes. I think the most important upgrade is the pads. That made a little bit of a difference. It's like maybe a bit more sudden or quicker response from the brakes. I still feel like the general push from the brakes should be better. If you want to change that, you want to go for the bigger Brembo all-around upgrades, but that's really expensive. First of all, then you need to change the calipers, then you need to change the discs, you might need to change the rims, and then also the tires, and also you need to, what are these called? It's called the suspension uprights, because the caliper is mounted with 2 bolts onto these suspension uprights. And if you have like the originals, which I have, they're a bit the the mounts are mounted a bit different, so you won't be able to fit the big brake kit onto like this original suspension uprights. So you want to look for a suspension upright either from the Alfa Romeo GTA 147 or 146 GTA or the GT 3.2 because those have the bigger Brembo brakes and with the different suspensions upright. And I really want to do this sometime. I've been thinking about doing this, and I think the easiest and well, it sounds a bit drastic, but I think the cheapest way to do it is to buy a Alfa Romeo 166 with a V6. Actually, in other words, to buy a whole new car. Because I've seen some of these V6s, they go for nothing now. I just saw one of those V6s go for 5,000 Swedish kroners. That's like 500 euros. I mean, if you were to buy like a Brembo big brake upgrade kit, that's easily like 1,000 euros. You know, 10,000 Swedish kroners or more. So yeah, although it sounds a little bit drastic, it makes sense, because if you buy that big brake kit, like I said, you're still gonna need those suspension uprights. You might be able to find some of those on eBay, but they're hard to come by. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna start the car. I'm gonna take it for a drive and keep discussing this topic about how to improve your Alfa 156.